Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a great evening. It was an absolutely beautiful day here in Northern California, and I'm so lucky that I live only 2 blocks from an amazing river. Plus, I have a small little garden I can go to use as my sanctuary, grow my own food. So, I hope you're all doing well. Today is Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and it's so important for us all to stay strong right now and have a good time to focus on the positive, like how to be a winner. I heard the quote, "Winners never quit and quitters never win," many years ago when I was first introduced to the ways of successful thinkers. This phrase was originally written by Napoleon Hill, who is best known for his book Think and Grow Rich. It was published back in 1937 and remains one of the top-selling self-help books of all time. Hill believed in the power of positive thinking. His books focused on faith, self-suggestion, knowledge, imagination, planning, persistence, and many other innovative ideas. We'll have to go into more detail by doing an in-depth overview in a future episode. We can counteract the dumbing down of America by sharing the principles presented by Hill. There's been plenty of research to support the benefits of adopting these types of habits. This very same phrase was later made famous when it was adapted by football coach and legend Vince Lombardi. He used it as a great motivational tool in leading his team to many victories. So it came to my mind while I was wondering what to write about for this week's episode. It really got me thinking about myself and my own life. I think most of us would love to be winners. Everybody has their own idea of success and what it might mean to be happy. For some, it may be a simple, calm, easy life. For others, it may mean attaining superstardom. So it seems to me we actually being labeled a winner or a quitter has very little meaning, but it can be used to motivate us. I started thinking about how this quote can seem a little harsh, but I think the original intention was to help, not to judge. But if I were to adapt this quote, I'd rather say it like this: winners rarely quit instead of winners never quit, and quitters rarely win instead of quitters never win. I don't like using terms like all, everyone, never, nobody. It leaves no room for the exception to the rule. Instead, we can say something like everyone I know, or almost always, to be more accurate. Generally, there's a good chance there'll be examples that may not quite fit the mold. There could be a situation where a winner has to quit and a quitter gets lucky enough to win. Even though some believe we create every single thing that happens, others may often set a course in motion and then we feel like we don't have any control over the outcome. I suppose that's why I like looking at quotes and sort of taking them apart, because there's a lot of things to consider here. Is there ever a good time to quit? What about when circumstances force us to quit, like a job ending, a marriage dissolving, or being forced to leave your home? Maybe we don't choose to fail, but we're fired, abandoned, widowed, or we encounter changes due to other life-altering events. But I think ultimately it's how you look at life. Things that are a priority will usually become your reality. Things can happen that we don't understand at the time. It may seem like a loss and turn out to be a big win and blessing in disguise. I think it's fair to say sometimes it is okay to not be a winner. Sometimes it's okay to be a quitter. But for the most part, I do agree with the original statement. My point is this: it's okay to not always be a winner. Balance is also important, and it can be a good idea to do everything in moderation. I talked about doing your best each day a while ago, and this is a good thing to remember. We're not perfect. We just try our very best. There may be times when it's good to win and also times when it's better to quit. Sometimes we might feel like giving up because we're tired or angry. Maybe it's both. I know a lot of people give up because they don't have the energy to follow through. If they don't feel like they have the support they need, it can be detrimental, so they just wind up failing. There may be times we think the effort's not worth the outcome. If you've tried to accomplish a goal for several years without getting the results you'd like, you might start wondering when enough is enough. This can be a good time to pull out a pen and paper, write down as many pros and cons as you can think of, and why to keep going, why to give up. Then leave it alone for a day or two, unless you get the urge to add something. Read through it later. Look at the things you've written down. See what the facts are telling you. What are your emotions telling you? How does this affect you, and how does it make you feel? If you're still undecided, you might want to consider asking a close family member or friend. You can ask them what they think, but remember, they could have their own agenda and opinions. However, they can also point out things you may have missed. It certainly depends on the issue and how personal they are. You'd want to be careful who you choose to confide in. Birds of a feather flock together, so ask someone you respect. Most winners I've known or read about keep to a regimented schedule. They have a set of goals and they write in a daily journal. They follow a particular formula that quitters could never adhere to. Unsuccessful people usually rely on a multitude of excuses for their inability to make their dreams come true. They're true victims and they will refuse to take responsibility, so they'll blame people and events for their lack of success. Coach Lombardi was also known for saying, once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. Winners know better. They realize it's really a mind game and has nothing to do with luck. Power plus determination plus persistence equals success. And I remember I read somewhere, out of all the talents and requirements to achieve goals, persistence is the very biggest factor. It also reminds me of the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. This is true. You can find many examples of moderately talented people rising to fame while the highly gifted are often overlooked. Another example is when you take the time to speak to a person of authority regarding a problem, they can usually help you get the results you want. But a lot of folks would rather do nothing but complain about it instead of taking the action needed to resolve it. I remember when I was younger how my sister and I would always handle things completely differently. If my dad said no about something, I'd just accept it. My sister would pester him for hours and hours until she finally wore him down and exhausted him into giving her what she wanted. I think most winners do have this in common. They refuse to give up or take no for an answer. The quote I chose for this week puts a different spin on the same subject. If we put our energy into what we can do, we won't need to come up with invalid reasons to explain our failures. Success occurs when your dreams get bigger than your excuses. This can be a great way of looking at it. Last week I mentioned a book called Excuses Be Gone. The title says it all, right? It was written by Dr. Wayne Dyer and gives an informative roadmap to end all of our self-inflicted reasons why we accept failure. I think most of us have had many experiences where we had to choose to overcome fear and plow through a situation. From small decisions to the larger ones, it's a choice of accomplishing a task or letting it go. I know for me, some days just getting through the laundry, feeding the family, walking the dog, and errands can seem to take a lot of my energy. I found I often have to even talk myself into following through on some of the little things I've committed to. Even things like doing this podcast consistently can be an ongoing challenge. I've questioned myself. Part of me thinks, does anybody really care that I'm doing this? Does it even matter? Is anyone even really listening? How long should I continue to do this show if I don't get a lot of interaction or feedback? Am I a quitter if I choose to stop this show because of a low response rate? Or am I a winner because then I can move on and put my energy into something else? There were a few proactive steps I did take to make sure I wouldn't quit right away. The first thing I did was to pay for a 2-year commitment for my website. Another thing I did was to get my logo on several items. This is important to me because I am not usually frivolous with my time and money. I like to see a return on my investment. There's one thing I do know. Winners keep going even when they're tired. And on some level, this relates to my last podcast where I talked about faith versus fear. I have the belief that I'm here to follow through on certain things, and I try to pass on good information so people can find an easier way to look at or try to handle their problems. Maybe one of the reasons I'm here. I don't know. Ever since I can remember, I've loved sharing art, music, and the written word, and people have always felt comfortable around me and have trusted me with giving them advice, keeping their secrets. I just want us all to be successful in everything that we do. Just like in my last podcast, I'll add to my list of people to watch, but this week I'm only going to be recommending one person. This is for a few different reasons. First, I wanted to see if people prefer me having a shorter show, and this would be a good way to do that. Second, I've not gotten much feedback, so it may just be a waste of time. I'll see if I get any responses about it this week. First person and the only person this week is Napoleon Hill. He was an American self-help author who influenced many generations of future successful writers and motivational speakers. Some of his best-known books include Think and Grow Rich, The Law of Success, Outwitting the Devil, and The Master Key to Riches. As always, before I go, I'd like to leave you with a laugh and a smile. And this week's joke I found online. I thought it was funny, and I hope you like it too. A mom goes to visit her grown son who has a girl as his roommate. During their meal together, the mother couldn't help noticing how pretty the girl was. For some time she had been quite suspicious of them having a relationship, and now she was more curious than ever. Over the course of the evening, while watching the two interact, she started to wonder if there was more between them. Reading his mom's thoughts, the son volunteered, "I know what you must be thinking, but I can assure you we're only roommates." About a week later, the son's roommate comes to him and says, "Ever since your mom came to dinner, I can't find the silver plate. You don't suppose your mother took it, do you?" He said, "I doubt it, but I'll send her an email to ask her about it just to be sure." So he sits down to write his mom an email, and he wrote, "Dear Mom, after your visit, our silver plate has gone missing. I'm not saying you took the plate or you didn't take it, but the fact remains it's been missing ever since you came here for dinner. Love, your son." Several days later, he received an email with a reply. "Dear son, I'm not saying you do sleep with your roommate or you don't sleep with your roommate, but the fact remains, if she was sleeping in her own bed, she would have found the silver plate by now, under her pillow. Love, Mom." Well, I'll be signing off for now. Please leave a comment, suggestion, like, and or subscribe. It really helps and I appreciate it. I've left links to my website, thevelvethammerwithcynzi.com. You can find everything from each show I've done to date. I have pages for all the podcast blogs, favorite quotes, favorite recipes, people to watch, and one for my merchandise. I've also left links to my various sites of original art and music, and I hope you come by and visit. I'm wishing all of us tremendous love and a multitude of blessings. We're always winners when we try our best, and we all deserve the very best. The best is yet to come, and I hope to see you next week. Cheers, everyone.
Time is eternal, you'll be eternally mine. I never tied you down, I found what I never thought I'd find. Holding light up to the hopeless, faces pressed against the glass. Not finding anyone home, not finding a love that will last. Too many bridges we burned, too many hearts that cry. So much we thought we'd learned, so many truths to find. Time is eternal, and one by one the blinders are lifted from each and every one. Then the power we possess and some common sense won't beat our head against a stone of ignorance. Oh, too many bridges we burned, too many hearts that cry. So much we thought we'd learned, so many truths to find. I'll climb the mountains and I'll swim the seas, just to prove what you've meant to me. tied you down. I found what I never thought I'd find. People light up to the hopeless, faces pressed against the glass, not finding anyone home, not finding the love that will last. Time is eternal. Time is eternal. You'll be eternally mine.